And I now pronounce this newly relocated mall open. Oh lord, that's gonna cause a drain. Welcome everybody back to Just the Basics Factorio, where we walk through basically everything, one step at a time. And I have just finished moving the mall entirely from around about here, where it was intersecting where the new chunk of the red circuit production needs to go, because we're actually backed up on our petroleum gas right now. We actually have a full stock of it. This is beyond the level where the train stop actually turns off, and that's a wonderful thing to see. There's 48,000 there. The systems up here have actually backed up now because that's full, which is then causing the light oil to back up, and that's steadily causing everything else to back up as well. So consequently, our system has turned off. I did change out the modules inside of the pump jacks from the productivity modules to the speed modules, more just to make sure we actually had enough oil coming in at a sufficient rate to actually make a difference, and even cleared out a little bit of trouble that we were having around here. I have to confess, lose the tank in the process, so what we have down here is a brand new tank that I had to craft just to go and recover my corpse. But that's a minor concern, because today we are actually going to be stepping away from the oil a bit, continuing to step away from the research a bit. We have actually stalled on our uranium processing because we've run out of our backlogged science. And we are today actually going to be looking at robotics, because we had them sitting down here for quite a while, and it is about time that we actually did something with them. And we have a whole ton of advanced circuits, so we might as well. So, the RoboPort itself is very easy to do, more or less. We can just click that, and it'll craft along. It doesn't even take us very long to do it. There she blows, and if you put it down, we'll see that there's this big green and yellow area around it. Now, what that indicates is the green is where the robots will attempt to construct things, whereas the yellow is the logistics section, and that's not a huge thing for us right now, but what it will mean is that if you have chests in there asking for things there, or if you're standing in them, if you happen to have an internal robotics port and such logistics requests, that kind of thing, then it will grab items from within that area and deliver them to things within that area. Now, as you can see, the construction area is quite large, compared with the relatively small logistics area, and that actually makes it quite easy to create a RoboPort system that allows you to actually repair things, because that is one of the major things that they'll do. But of course, the major thing we're interested in them doing is, in fact, building stuff. That's why I've laid this out without actually having done anything for it. So, I'm just gonna see. I don't think there's anywhere around here that I can actually just plonk this. Not right now, anyways. So let's just plonk you about there. Now, in order for it to actually do anything, of course, it's going to need robots. And, yeah, it's identified areas now that require assistance. This is the area that we haven't got the materials for, or indeed any robots for. So, we need to figure out how to make our construction robots. Those require simply electronic circuits, and then a flying robot frame, which is a big way of saying, do this big long crafting sequence, and then you can maybe pick which kind of robot you want. So that's our next step. Now, in order to make that, we need steel plates, we need batteries, we need electronic circuits, and we need an electric engine unit per frame. Now, of course, we have a lot of steel, we have a lot of electronic circuits, so that's not a huge problem. Batteries, however, we're actually kind of on the side of needing, because they require a sulfuric acid, which we don't currently have. But since our oil section has backed up, we do have a surplus of resources up there that we can start trying to work into this. This is not going to be an episode where I show you how to make a ratio perfect means of making these en masse, but we're just going to try and get ourselves enough to make building over here at the base easier, as well as to keep things repaired should we actually antagonize the neighbors anytime soon. So, sulfuric acid is made using iron plates, and sulfur is made using water and petroleum gas. Now, we know that that's already at our oil plant because we're now using the advanced oil processing, which requires water and oil. Okay, We can cart over some iron plates, that's not a huge problem. Combine those together, it'll get us some sulfuric acid, which we can then combine with some more copper and some iron, and that'll get us the batteries. Okay, grand. Electric engine units. Requires electronic circuits and engine units, both of which we're already making, and lubricants, which we make from heavy oil, which we're also currently making and backing up on. So, where did I park the car? I think the car's actually parked all the way up here. This might actually be a time to just drive the tank, which is now running entirely on rocket fuel. Believe it or not, that is not even the fastest I could make this tank go. But its acceleration is pretty nippy, It still pales in comparison to the buggy. But, you know, the tank will not stop for anything. And it, in fact, no longer even takes damage from running over rocks, which is pretty sweet. So, hey, I'll take it. And there's our buggy. Okay. I did run over part of this whole setup a while ago, but I think it's okay for right now. Alright. So to make lubricants, let's make 5 chemical plants, and we're going to want some more making sulfuric acid as well. Both of these require chemical plants, so we're probably going to want to make a couple more. Sulfur, you don't tend to need a lot working on. It tends to be very quickly made, but nonetheless, I'm just going to, you know, it might be helpful to have a backlog of stuff anyways. So we'll grab that, and let's see, that's probably enough tanking in it as it is already, so let's go to there, move you. Okay, and that's 5. Okay, and we'll have you making lubricants. So, clone, paste, job's a good'un. And I'm gonna have to go and quickly grab some more pipes. So, one moment everybody, while I set this up. And done. Okay, so if we supply this with some power, it should start to convert our heavy oil to our actual lubricant manufacturing. Now, as an ideal, we would be a little bit more, like, convoluted with this. We're already converting our heavy oil into light oil to bolster our petroleum gas output, for instance. But for this particular moment, at the very least, this is fine. We don't need to worry about it too much. So there we go, we are rapidly producing it, and at a rate of 3,000 per minute, which is not remotely the highest we've got here, but, you know, we're managing it. 600, 700, okay, maybe we are producing it at something of a canny rate. Oh lord, did I just say canny? Good god, that's northern of me. But anyways, we now have over 1,000 lickety-split, so the next job what we need to do is getting the sulfur. And sulfur, as we saw, requires petroleum gas and water, which is, funnily enough, exactly what's already occurring up here. So if we just flip that around, in fact, we probably don't even need that many. We can probably manage this with just 3. So let's do that, set these to sulfur, clone and paste, and set it up in a hot minute. Okay, and there we have a lot of sulfur being produced. Now, you don't, again, need all that much sulfur. It really must be stated. So we're actually just gonna box this up. We're not even going to bother trying to belt it. And there we go. Just so much, so much. And that's not even affecting the storage that actually goes into our train here, so that's pretty nice. We can continue to use this for something else later on. So that's a lot. I'm actually going to limit that to just about that much, because that's probably all that we're going to need. In fact, that's probably going to be overkill for what we need. Okay. Next up, sulfuric acid, which we need in order to make our batteries. So for that, we're going to need more chemical plants. Those are going to need water, which we again have up here. We are going full Dr. Stone on this. We have got everything that we need all in one place, because we needed it to get to the place that we're already at. And let's just dump you there. I should not be carrying that. That's just from when I died more recently. Okay. So, sulfuric acid we need in slightly larger quantities than we previously were getting anything else. So let's just do. And do. Why not? And now this needs access to sulfur and ideally iron plates. But I'm just going to hand feed those in for the time being, because I don't think we're going to be needing all that much sulfuric acid for the moment. So there we have sulfuric acid being created. Let's just make sure we've got a tank for that. And it has already burned through all of the sulfur I gave it. Wow. That was 5 stacks. Okay, the sulfur might need to be a little more automated, but that did nonetheless give us like 3,000 sulfuric acid, so it's not that huge of a concern. I don't think we're even going to have to worry about actually accelerating this. Good lord. But we are now out of petroleum gas from our reserves here, because we are no longer pumping in light oil from our system, because our light oil is lower than our petroleum gas, and consequently we don't need to generate too much more, I guess. So we do want to probably set up something a bit more secure for that, but for right now, 5,000 will probably do the trick for us. Okay, so we need to turn this sulfuric acid into batteries, and that requires even more chemical plants. Thankfully, it shouldn't be too difficult to set those up. Again, this is not meant to be an efficient setup, this is just a get us started with robots kind of setup. And robots are one of my favorite things in this game. Okay, there we go. So we give these a stack of each of these. And once they have some power, they should start to make some batteries for us. There we go. Once again, we'll dump those into a chest, and we'll limit that chest. Just so we don't end up with a massive surplus of what we're after here. But okay, there we go. Now these, of course, are significantly slower. These you would want to have more, or you want to have some speed modules involved. But we nonetheless have batteries now being made. Now batteries are used in a number of things, not the least of which is our chemical science packs eventually, because of sulfur. But we can use that in a number of places, including in armor, because that's actually kind of useful for making batteries for our current power suit, which we can then add things like the night vision onto it, or the energy shields, or even exoskeletons down the road. But for right now, we're just trying to make some robots. Okay, last step, last thing that we need, electric engine units, requiring lubricants, engine units, and electronic circuits. I'm carrying 28 engine units, and I'm carrying 150 electronic circuits. It's almost like I planned this. And that does not require a chemical plant of any kind. We just attach that, hit that up, and there, already coming out very nicely. Okay, and let's just give it an iron chest again, just so we have some storage for this. We will have an actual place that needs to be making electric engine units later on, because that's not currently in use, but it will be necessary for some later constructions of science and such. But for right now, again, to stress, we are doing this just to get our first few robots, and there is indeed our first couple of electric engine units, which combined with some batteries will get us our first pair of flying robot frames. Nice! And from there we can make our first construction robots. Now, I have blithely skipped over a rather significant piece of engineering that is necessary here to make this work, which is that our robots currently do not believe that they have access to any materials whatsoever. And that is because they do not register materials that are inside of regular old chests. Not the wooden chests, not the iron chests, not even the steel chests. The only kind of chest that they will recognize the authority of is the storage or passive provider. These are parts of the logistics network, and those are the only parts that it will actually recognize. So, to actually have our robots register what we have down here, we're going to be exchanging a bunch of chests in the mall with some storage chests. These are relatively cheap to make. As you can see, they're just a steel chest, 3 electronic circuits, and an advanced circuit. Not a huge concern, really, for us at this stage. So, to that in mind, let me just grab a couple of circuits just to speed this along a little bit, and we'll start replacing chests. Oh, and it looks like we have some riled up neighbors, so let's go and see about them. They don't appear to be... Oh, that's a dangerous sound, isn't it? I'm on my way. They're just massacring the belts, I think. Yeah, it's chiefly belts that they're dealing with. Oi! Get off me, smeltery. Oh, there is a beacon. Okay, there we go. All goods. So now, because we have a single robot port around, we actually have the remains highlighted here. These are the purple health bar pieces, which tell us exactly where everything was that just got wrecked. And that is in aid of the robots who might come along at some stage and actually repair these for us. For right now, we have to do it by hand because there is no robot reception here. It's nice when the only damage to my car is from me running into a tree. Okay. Let's drop ourselves a turret here because apparently we're gonna need one. And back we go. If I could probably actually drive. Okay, and it looks like immediately we actually have some trouble up there. Where could they be coming from? Well, probably this arc. Oh. Okay, I'm surprised they're not going for the actual, like, mine in that case. Huh. Well, that's something I'll have to deal with tomorrow. Don't worry about it. It's fine. There's a reason I don't have a driver's license, isn't it? But anyways, we have replaced a significant number in fact, of our chests down here with storage chests, and we now note that there is a symbol glowing over here saying no reception. And that is because, remember, there is a range on the logistics ports here, so we do need to actually replace a few, well, place a few more, rather, of the roboports in order to get actual coverage. But I'm just going to finish up plonking down these different pieces. And that's probably enough for right now. Okay, so we just need 2 or 3 more, I think, just to get the roll rolling. And then we can dump the 2 robots that we have constructed into here. They will not be working very hard. They will not be working very quickly, but they will be working at that stage. Now, in order for 2 roboports to actually share resources and robots, they have to have their logistics points clicking. So you can see they're connecting there by that dotted line. If we move them too far away, they will be considered separate networks and they will not share resources between themselves. And there's pros and cons to when and where to do that. For instance, you might want to have a roboports network that's covering most of your moles so that you can shift some resources around instead of just belting them all the time. Or you might want to have an isolated network on, say, a piece of your rail line so that it's only interested in itself and you just dump some bulk materials over there every now and then when it's running a bit low. And right there. I'm gonna have to put a gun turret there at some stage, because otherwise I will greatly regret it. But on the other hand, we can also just have the Roboport Big Blah actually repair stuff. Because that's also a thing it can do. Now, that one is a ghost, because I'm currently out of materials for it in my inventory. But if I plonk some robots into here, so there you are, construction robots, we can also have a spot for repair packs, just in case things get broken. So it is going to pick up some resources, and off it goes. Now, as I say, very slow. You can upgrade these to move faster, to have a longer charge, to carry greater volumes of resources, but for right now, our little robot friends are not doing very much. And both of them are currently occupied. You can see their number of available robots, construction 0/2, which means they are both currently occupied. But they are very slowly constructing our red circuit factory, so yay. And then we'll be able to hook that up, and they'll get both of these lines going, and then we can actually see about getting something a little bit more permanent for our science, and they'll get uranium processing going, and then we can overhaul the power. Everything is a tech tree, essentially, and we are working on it to the best of our ability. So grant we do still have our huge detriment of low oil, no, we do still have a fair bit of heavy. Also, it's not really registering on the view there. So how much we got here? 26 grand. And combine that with probably more than we need there, actually. But that can now make 26 robots. And we'll stow those, and we'll get our system building itself. Hurrah! So, the construction robots are not really heavily tied in with the logistics network. They will grab things from things in the logistics network, but they don't actually transfer them between containers. That is the job of the logistics robots, whom we do not currently have access to. They come along at a later point, so we can actually find that. So there is logistics robots, and that will get us access to the roboports. That will get us access to the passive and storage, and then of course the logistics robots. I don't know exactly why you can get the roboport and such in two different things. It feels like it should just come along in robotics, but I guess it's in case you decided to go one route and not the other. There is an achievement for doing the game entirely to the rocket level without ever touching logistics robots. For the purposes of this playthrough, I'm not going to be going for that achievement, just to show off how things can work and whatnot. The logistics system is also really handy. The requester chest, for instance, lets you actually just have parts of your entire system just request that the robots bring stuff to them, rather than having you belt them in some fashion, that kind of thing. But the construction robots are the major thing that we are concerned with, and we can even get them to actually just be hanging out on us and then just placing stuff as we tell them to, which is really, really powerful, really makes our lives so much easier. But of course, then we're just going to start building much bigger things. So, yep, we've got plenty of dudes just currently coming along to build things out. Now, there is one thing that I don't like when it comes to robots building stuff. And that is that, in a lot of cases, when you're laying stuff out with the power supply, you're doing it in a fashion that it ends up in this neat kind of grid pattern, more often than not. Just it tends to be on the side of efficiency, more than anything else. But robots don't do that, because it's very much a order of operations kind of thing. They will place down whatever they have, wherever they think they should place it, in a sort of seemingly random kind of organization, and that ends up with the power lines being really messy, and just a general kind of jumble. And so I frequently, when I'm actually making a blueprint to have the robots placed down, I will take out all of the power lines and also put those in by manual. But that is very much just a personal preference kind of thing. So, don't worry about it too much, and I actually don't think our entire... Yeah, it's not even entirely covered here, so we're not going to be seeing too much of that, but we will be seeing a bit of it as I expand the roboports. So I'm probably going to make it so that we have roboports that are able to access a decent chunk of our... A decent chunk of our network here, of our main base, but for the most part, I don't really want to be having roboports covering everything, at least not until we have a very severe power supply, because roboports do take a lot of power. They only really use it whenever they are actually recharging robots, but when you have a lot of robots doing a lot of things, that tends to be quite a lot of time, and yeah, maximum consumption, 4.05 megawatts. For comparison, a assembly machine is 155 kilowatts max consumption. So, yeah, they can be quite substantial. But anyways, that's what I've got for you guys today. It's going to take me an age to craft all of these flying robot frames and then get our robots going, but hopefully that will make things much easier in the next episode. So I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all as ever next time.